The first shipment of US shale gas has arrived in Scotland amid a fierce debate about the future of fracking in the UK. A tanker carrying 27,500 cubic meters of ethane from US shale fields has reached Grangemouth, the site of the petrochemicals plant owned by Ineos. The tanker was prevented from docking by high winds and is now anchored outside the port in the Forth estuary. Ineos said the gas would secure the future of the plant's workforce. But many politicians and environmental groups have criticized the shipment. They claim the process of injecting water, sand, and chemicals into the rock at high pressure damages the environment. Drilling for shale gas is only at an exploratory phase in the UK. The Scottish government has placed a moratorium on all fracking in Scotland while a study into its impact is carried out. It said ministers were unavailable to attend the arrival of the shale gas shipment. The tanker had been due to dock at midday. A fresh attempt will be made at about midnight. Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos founder and chairman, said shale gas had helped to secure 10,000 jobs. He told BBC Radio Scotland's Good Morning Scotland programme that the chemicals industry was not perfect and that there would be the occasional environmental issue. Mr. Ratcliffe added, "What I am saying is I don't think it is any different to the chemical industry. There isn't a product that you buy or consume that doesn't require a chemical of one form or another. And the chemical industry is extremely good at managing environmental issues and safety issues, but it is not perfect. It is like a puncture in your car, occasionally you get a puncture and occasionally we have an accident in chemicals." The company said the shipment aboard the carrier Ineos Insight was the culmination of a £1.6 billion investment resulting in 8 tankers forming a virtual pipeline across the Atlantic between the US and the UK and Norway. Ineos argues that with the North Sea supply of ethane dwindling, the shipments from the US are the only way of bringing in sufficient gas at low enough prices to maintain its olefins and polymers business at Grangemouth in the face of global competition. It believes the US shale gas will provide sufficient raw material to run its manufacturing site at full rates, something that has not been possible for many years. The Grangemouth facility is home to Scotland's only crude oil refinery and produces the bulk of fuels used in Scotland, with the site said to contribute about 3% of Scottish GDP. It is also home to Europe's biggest ethane tank, which is capable of holding 60,000 cubic meters of gas after it arrives by tanker. Ineos has said the shale shipments should safeguard the future of Grangemouth's 1,300 workers. The company has signed 15-year contracts with suppliers to pipe ethane from the shale fields in the US to purpose-built export facilities on the east and Gulf coasts of America. From there, the gas will be shipped across the Atlantic in a fleet of 8 specially designed Dragon-class ships commissioned by Ineos. Ports in Norway, Portugal, and Spain have all received shale gas shipments this year following the lifting of a ban on the export of US oil and gas, but the arrival of the Ineos Insight will be the first to the UK. Remains controversial. Unconventional oil and gas extraction remains controversial in the UK, with the UK Labour Party following Scottish Labour in backing a ban on fracking if it wins the next general election. Despite pleas from Ineos to embrace shale gas drilling, the Scottish Government moratorium on the practice remains in place, in contrast to the pro-fracking stance of the UK government. The Scottish Parliament voted to support an outright ban on fracking in June after SNP MSPs abstained. The Scottish Government said it had commissioned a series of independent research projects into unconventional oil and gas to examine potential environmental, health and economic impacts to inform its evidence-led approach to the issue. A spokesman said these projects were due to report later this year, with the public consultation taking place during winter 2016-17. He added, "The moratorium will remain in place throughout this process and the Scottish Government will use the results of the consultation to inform its decision on the way forward." Mary Church, head of campaigns at Friends of the Earth Scotland, said, "It is completely unacceptable to attempt to prop up Ineos's petrochemicals plants on the back of human suffering and environmental destruction across the Atlantic. The fact that Scottish public money is tied up in this project is disgraceful. Setting aside the devastating local impacts of fracking, the climate consequences of extracting yet more fossil fuels are utterly disastrous.